Greetings, this is Jim Lindsay. This is a CIS 320 lesson, and I'm going to be talking to you about material that's presented to you in Chapter 1 of our Visio textbook, the step-by-step Microsoft Visio 2013 textbook. This should be pretty brief. I mainly want to get you used to the environment, and since you guys are juniors and seniors at a university, and since you've had CIS 141 and probably CIS 243, your familiarity with all of the office products will make this orientation really quick. If you've not worked with Office before, then your learning curve would be significantly steeper. But since you have worked with those other products like Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, all of those sorts of products, and you probably are going to pick this up pretty quickly. So let's get into it. And Visio, of course, is a drawing program. The very first lesson I had you complete was the drawing tools lesson, where you learned how to draw stuff from scratch. So you have installed Visio, you've downloaded and installed Visio on your computer, so you know how to get to it and open it. If you're working in a WKU computer lab, you could go through down here and do a search for Visio down here and find Visio as a choice. I'm using Microsoft Windows 10 as my operating system. You may have Windows 7 or Windows 8, but regardless, the procedure will be similar. You also could go through all apps or programs, depending on which version of Windows you have. Come down to Microsoft Office and then scroll down to the Visio 2013, which is right there. What I found to be quite convenient for myself is to place that down here on my taskbar. So when I want to start, I just click on my little icon for it down here, and then there you go, it starts up the program. Now, what I want to, and I haven't tried to open a drawing or create a drawing yet, so it's just giving me a blank canvas at this point, and that's what you're looking at. As soon as we start to create a specific kind of drawing or open a drawing file, then these tabs will more or less sort of come to life, and options on those tabs will become available to us. So that's what we'll do. I want to go to File, and I'll just do a new. It's already highlighted on New. If it's not, click on that. And let's just do a basic diagram, just so we can get some. And I hit the Create button just to get some of these tabs to come to life. This area over here, this task pane, excuse me, let me get rid of that. That is a, we'll learn about those, but we don't need it right now. Okay, let me get this task pane to show up. Let's talk about this environment. This is adjustable, and you can make this environment customized to your liking. What you're looking at over here is called the stencil area. What you're looking at in here is called the workspace, and you'll have little windows pop up like this that you can open or close. And let's talk about this. The first chapter, when it begins talking to you about the program, it begins by talking to you about the different versions of Visio. And I want you to read it. I want you to very quickly read through it. I want you to be aware that there are different versions. The one I'm working with is Visio 2013 from the DreamSpark website. You guys can download Visio 2016 if you like. I encourage you to do that after this class is over. Work with 13 while we're in the class, and then get 16 when we're done. Just so what you work with will look exactly the same as what I show you. There were previous versions of the program, and it all boils down to basically they've gotten better and better and better. And this was a program that Microsoft purchased from another company, and it's a unique product in the Office suite in that it's a vector-based drawing program. It's the only one that I'm aware of that actually is a vector-based program. And what that means is as you create drawings, instead of working with pixels, it's basically all the time, every second, it's redrawing what you place on the screen. So for example, if I take this square, put it on my screen, I'll zoom in here a little bit, it's continuously redrawing this square. And so In contrast to that, if I have a pixel-based image on my screen, something like a JPEG or a PNG or a bitmap, it consists of individual pixels that don't change. And if I zoom in too closely to that picture, or if I take that JPEG or PNG or bitmap and stretch it out, and if I enlarge it big enough, you're going to see ragged edges on it. You're going to see a pixelated edge on that graphic. With this type of program, with a vector-based image program, you won't get that, and that's what's really cool. You can zoom in, tremendously close, and I'll just show that to you. Let me take a triangle and put it here with it. Let me make the triangle just have a different color so you can see. We'll put a circle in here as well. We'll put a different color on it even. Make it a little bit smaller. Put it here. We'll send it to the back there, and we'll make it have, let's say, kind of a pink color. Okay, so we've got these three different shapes, right? I'm going to zoom in right here. I'm going to hold down my Control and Shift buttons, and as I left click, you'll see that I'm zooming in very closely. You'll see I'm up to 2,933% magnification, and none of that got pixelated at all. And that's unique to this program. The ability to zoom in, again, Control and Shift, that allows you to zoom in. If you right click, it'll allow you to zoom out. You'll see I'm zooming out as I right click. I'm zooming in as I left click. If you press down and hold the right button, that's called panning, you see you get like a little hand on the screen. That allows you to nudge that shape back and forth very, very subtly. You'll see even at 2,933% magnification, I'm able to move that image around, and it doesn't, because you're really, really in there. And you've got to think that you're moving it. You'll see these are from the ruler measurements up here. That's 3.625 inches, 3.6875 inches. So I'm able to move in here and just move very precisely with this program, and that's possible because it's vector based, and that's really cool. I'm going to come back out to normal magnification. I'm going to click on this little box with the 4 arrows in it. It brings it on out. So that's what this program is. The story on how I became familiar with this program is that basically in my previous life, before I was a teacher, I did information technology work down in Nashville, and the firm that I worked at, the consulting firm that I worked at, supported law firms. And we had a paralegal come to us and say, hey, we would like to make a really precise timeline that we can present to a jury in this defense case, and do you know of any products that are really good for creating timelines and then blowing those out to where they're really big, so you can put those on huge pieces of poster board or even larger, and have it still look good. And so I started doing some research, and we found this Visio product, and this was back like in 2001, and so at that point, Visio was pretty new to the Office family, and it wasn't nearly as well integrated as it is now. And so, and since then, it's just gotten better and better and better. So that's what this program is for. It's for creating pictures for drawings, and you can do all kinds of stuff. You can make maps, organizational charts. You can make computer networks. You can make things called brainstorming diagrams, and so on and so forth. And we're going to create a lot of those as we work through the first portion of this class. And so this is the environment. You have the ribbon up at the top, and as you read through the pages of Chapter 1, it will talk to you about the different things that you see on these different tabs up here, and you'll become very familiar with many of these items. We won't exhaust this. We won't go through every single possible thing that you can do with Visio. It's a very robust product, but we'll cover a lot, and we're going to cover 8 chapters of this book, and we'll do it in a pretty short period of time. And so I think you're going to get a good appreciation for what this product can do. And now there's more, and if you want to take it further, you can. But I think I'll at least get you to where you're really good with it. So that's what this program is. That's the ribbon up here. These are the different tabs of the ribbon. This, like I said, this second section over here, this is called these are called stencils. You'll see that there are different stencils that make up in this task pane right here. If I go to the View tab, I can make task panes visible or invisible. You'll see, for example, that's the Shapes pane, or the Shapes task pane. You can make that appear or disappear by selecting it. You can make other panes, like the shape data pane, show up or disappear through this, and you can also just manipulate them individually here. These are different stencils inside of this pane, and you'll see, so for example, under decorative shapes, there's like a neutral face and a frowny face and that sort of stuff. These are different shapes that make up the individual stencils, and so you can, and 95% of the time, 99% of the time when you're using Visio, you're going to be pulling shapes from stencils, putting those on a page, and then arranging those to create some sort of drawing. And a drawing, in a lot of cases, can communicate a point much quicker than a whole bunch of text, right? So you create those pictures. You can take these panes and you can take these stencils. Let's say I want to have the decorative shapes. Let's say I use that a lot. If I want to have that particular stencil all by itself, I can just left click it and drag it out here, and there it is. You'll see that there's that particular stencil. I can resize it, and I can then you can dock it. What that means is you can take it and make it stick to the sides if you want to. You can make it stick to the bottom, stick to the top, and then you can take it and put it back if you want. You can take it and put it back over here as well. So you have the ability to manipulate these stencils as you need. There's also a searching ability. You get here and search, and let's say I need a shape of a dog. I can do a search for a dog, and it can look and see if there are any shapes for dogs. It didn't see one for me on that. Let's say I need a cloud. Here are a bunch of different clouds, so there's a cloud I might need. It's kind of hard to see that one. Let me get some background color to it just so you can see that one. There you go. But this searching feature works. Now, if you're at campus, please note that if you're on campus, this searching feature is disabled. So if you're using a WKU computer lab, that's one feature that's not working, unfortunately. But if you're at home, that should work for you. Also, what should work for you at home is this, and that's the ability to put your own stencils in there. And I have two stencils that I've put on the Blackboard website for you that look like this: the United States maps, individual states, and also world country maps. And I love these stencils, and unfortunately at some point recently those stencils were taken out, and so I hold on to those and provide those to you because I think they're really great. And also it shows you, at this point I get to show you how to put your own stencil files into your installation of Visio. So where would you put these so you could access those maps if you wanted those? Well, you installed Visio on your computer, so if you now look in the Documents folder for your computer, I'm going to go to my File Explorer here, and what I did to get that going, I just clicked on the Start button. I actually right-clicked because it's Windows 10, then with the File Explorer. If you're in on a Windows 7 machine, you click at the Start button and go to the Computer folder, bring you to this guy. But if you look in Documents, you'll see there's a folder called My Shapes. If you look in that, this is where you will basically drag and drop these VSS files. These are Visio stencil files, and so I'm going to do that, and there they are. And so now if I go to Visio, if I go to my stencils up here, if I go to More Shapes, My Shapes, you'll see there are some maps here. And so I'm going to click on the US maps, and you'll see I'm going to put Kentucky on here. Let me get to Kentucky. I'm going to click on my little scrolling arrow here. I'll come down here to Kentucky, drag it. It's going to be very small. These maps are very small, and I mentioned to you, I showed you a second ago the way to zoom, right? So I'm going to do that right now. Actually, I'm going to get what's next to us. Let's go with Indiana. So I'm going to take Indiana and put that right next to that one as close as I can, and then I'm going to zoom in there as closely as I can. And what you can see, these are really great maps of these individual states. And I can take these and then match them up, get them to where their borders match up perfectly. And then once I've done it, I can then group these together and then make them bigger, and then I can do create all sorts of really cool maps. Like let's say I had a company that had offices in both of these states. Well, put these maps together, and right now they have these really crazy borders. You can get rid of all that, and you'll learn about that later as we go through the class. But you can make this, look like a just map shapes, of states without these really thick borders. As they get bigger, they'd also diminish in size and do tremendous things with them. And so that's what a stencil is. Again, if you want to put stencil files into your My Shapes folder on your computer, if you go to the stencils and click on More Shapes, go to My Shapes, you'll then see those areas, those items there. And you can download stencils from the internet as well. You can go to Microsoft and download from there as well. So that's how you work with a stencil file. Okay, I'm going to jump over to what's called the Backstage. If you go to the File tab of the ribbon here, this area is called the Backstage. And from this Backstage, you'll see there are several different things you can work with. But the book does a good job of describing these features right here. Reducing file size, removing personal information, and so on. You can take a look at that. This can be helpful for you. Please take a look at that. And then it goes into the next thing the chapter goes into. It talks about these very specific ribbon items that you see when you create specific types of drawings. I think their presentation of those items at this point in the book is a little bit confusing. It's not really that helpful because you haven't worked with those kinds of drawings yet. So for example, when you create an organization chart, you're going to have a very, I'm going to go back to, I'm going to hit the back button right here and just go back to the main interface here. You'll have like its own tab, click to appear up here specifically for organization charts. And so you get that with many different types of drawings. So I think they probably would have been better served to present those nuggets of information with those specific kinds of drawings in the book, but that's how the authors attacked it. And so I would encourage you to just briefly just kind of go through there and take a look at that. Don't try and understand every single bit of it because you haven't made those kind of drawings yet, and you're not going to. You're not going to understand the nuances of what they're telling you about yet. So later, a few weeks from now, once we cover specific kinds of drawings, you can refer back to that because you have this book. You can so make yourself aware of kind of what's in there, and then you can refer back to it a little bit later on when you need it. Okay, and let's close with this. Basically, one more moment. I'm going to go back to the whole page size here. Here in the workspace down at the bottom, it tells you how many pages are in this drawing, and you're going to get to be really comfortable and really good with this. But please note, that this is a one-page drawing. If you wanted a new page in a drawing, all you have to do is click on the plus button right there, or you can go to insert, and you could go through that way too. You can create new pages there. But let's say I want to have some more pages in my drawing, and then I could add content to those individual pages by clicking on the individual pages there. You can also rename pages. Let's say I want to rename this page Jim. There's a Jim page. Let's say I want to go to this one and rename this one John. There you go. And then you can reorder pages. You can take John and put John in front of Jim if you want to. You can take page 1 and put it at the end if you like. So you have control over what these pages are called, as well as the way that they are presented in the in the interface here. All of these pages that I've been working with are called foreground pages, and what that means is everything's on the front. You also have the ability to create what's called a background page, and you will do that many times in the coming weeks. I'll teach you how to do that. But what that means is you can basically have a page that's in the background. It'll be like a layer behind. So let's do that. I'll make Jim. I'm just going to put Jim over here by page 1, and its placement by me placing it Jim over here by page 1. It has nothing to do with it becoming a background page. But we'll make Jim the background page for page 1. I'm just going to take Georgia here, put it on the page, and I'm going to make that bigger. Just make that really large. Make that a little bit smaller. By the way, there's something called auto. You saw it auto size. You saw it add a second page there. That's a feature about Visio that I really dislike, and you can turn that off. If you go to the design tab up here, you can turn off auto sizing, and I encourage you to do that. Auto sizing drives me crazy because a lot of the times I like to take stuff and put it over here on the side of the page and then come back and then pull it back onto the page when I want it. With auto size turned on, if you can't move anything off of the drawing because the drawing just keeps getting bigger, and then you end up with a picture that's literally the size of like your dining room table because Visio keeps adding pages, pieces of paper out to the side. So I encourage you to turn that off. So I've got this shape for Georgia really large here, and I want to make that the background for page 1 here because page 1 is the one that I showed you all these. I dragged all these shapes on here for you, right? So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to right-click Jim. I'm going to go to its page setup. Again, I just right-clicked. I went to its page setup. I'm going to make it a background page, and I'll hit OK. And now, if I go to, you'll see that now it's italicized with its listing down here. If I go to page 1, I'm going to right-click it, go to its page setup, and it's a foreground page. I'm going to say, hey, you have a background page of Jim, and I'll apply that. Hit OK. You'll see that Jim is now showing through as the background, and all this other stuff is laying up on top of that Georgia state. I can't get to it. There's nothing I can do to that Georgia state because it's in the background. If I wanted to make something change with regard to the Georgia state, I'd have to go to the Jim page and then make my change there, go back to page 1. You'll see it's moved over. So that's stuff that you'll get really comfortable with, very good with as we work through this book. But that's your introduction to Visio. Those are various topics from Chapter 1, and thanks for your time and attention.